constantly one-upping kind of communication, where I'm always better than you. Oh, here, let me tell you something that I've done that's better than you. Or constantly disapproving style of communication. Yeah, thanks for doing that, but you didn't do well enough. Thanks for getting that to me, but you didn't get to me on time enough. Yeah, that was really great of you to come, but it would have been nice if you were here earlier. Communication plays a central role in achieving group success, but it asks us what kind of communication, and how does that communication contribute to the success of it. We know that Facebook groups have increased by 400%. There are 4 million students taking online courses. But now let's go back to the question on successful and unsuccessful, and think for a minute. How many of you have taken an online class? Okay, how many of you thought that was a rewarding, enriching experience that I would repeat again? That's interesting. Fewer hands went up that time. Every time I have attempted to take an online class, I have dropped it. Because I have found it to be just the opposite. Yet more and more and more push is being driven towards online education. Because the assumption is that if we can communicate, that we can do it and communicate virtually, that it can be a successful and rewarding experience. Like even in those of you that have taken online classes, you've done all the things you're supposed to do, you've communicated effectively, you already got on, you did your little logs, your little blogs, all on your boards, blah, 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 blah. But you still didn't get a rewarding experience out of it. So it's kind of interesting to think some of the ways in which we assume that communication will kind of solve our problems when we know that it won't, and not always. We also assume that technology solves everything. Learn that lesson the hard way. Last year I shifted everything to EduCat. The university says it's a great idea. How many freaking problems did I have last semester with EduCat? I don't even know. I lost track. All I know is that like Max Mock and I are on not only a first name basis, but we pretty much have just been engaged in a relationship last semester because I spent more time with him at the CITD office than I did with my own family. Because of all the problems that I had using technology last semester. All the weird loopholes that were not my issue. That was a programming issue, or an internet issue, or a streaming issue, or an uploading issue, or a file size issue. Someone else's issue. Experience isn't always an effective teacher, and just because we do it every day doesn't mean we're good at it. But the expectation out there in the world is that it does help us, but it doesn't hurt us, and that it's always good to do it. Students arrive at college with an opinion of group decision making that's negative and stressful. Okay, quote from your book. One of the questions I ask you is what positive or negative, and my guess is that it's more negative than positive. So you come here with that, and we call this an egocentric bias. An egocentric bias leads us to this opinion because we think about ourselves, and this is predominantly an American belief. The we versus me kind of thing, right? I deserve the A. I did all the work. And we tend to actually overestimate the amount of work that we actually do. We quickly make ourselves feel underappreciated. We go, well, I did this, and I did that, I did this, and I did that, I did this, and I did that. And so I must be rewarded for all of that. And because I did all of that, you guys didn't do enough, and therefore now I'm underappreciated, and I don't feel good about the experience. It's very egotistical. It's very egocentric. Well, I have done this with groups from past where I said, I want you to make a list of every single thing you've done to contribute to this group project. And everybody makes their list. And I had them do it publicly, not obviously in front of the whole class, but in front of their whole group, made their list. And I said, now, without waiting, writing a 6-page paper on your own is definitely more than sending an email. Without waiting then, I want you to just count. I want you to count the number of activities you've done to contribute to the group project. Oh, you did 11, and you did 11, and you did 12, and you did 11, and you did 9. Well, that's weird. Then why are you standing here telling me you did it all? Because you didn't. They did. How we evaluate, how we measure the contributions of ourselves tend to be overestimated when compared to how we measure and evaluate the contributions of another person. but they just sent an email. They sent an email that got you the meeting with the city councilman. Without that meeting, you wouldn't have a project. Now, on weighting wise, which is more valuable? The email sent to get the meeting or the 6-page paper? Maybe neither one of them are more valuable than the other. They could actually be equal to. See, I did it all. They just sent an email and I wrote this paper. But perhaps their email might have been equal to, if not maybe more valuable than this paper. But we tend to see ourselves more as a me in a group rather than a we in a group, and we start to overestimate our actual contribution. We start to feel underappreciated, which means we start to want things out of the experience we're not getting, and we begin to get unhappy about it. We develop an egocentric side, which leads us to the opinion that all things are negative. Social loafers, though, contribute to this. They do. We can't forget that there are people who do nothing. That does happen. I've had the list made, and I've seen the one person who's got their 3 little measly things on there, and it's like, well, explain yourself. But the thing that's interesting is that when you get into an experience where social loafing happens, social loafing produces suckers. Because when someone says, oh, I totally forgot, our inclination is to say, I'll do it. Right? Oh, I totally forgot. I'll run out and get it. I totally forgot. Don't worry about it. We will take the burden onto ourselves rather than placing the responsibility, the monkey, on that other person's back. So the social loafers, yes, they're guilty of doing nothing. But you're guilty of letting them do nothing. And to some degree, we allow that to happen and even encourage it to happen by the way we communicate. So like I said, communication can lead to success when we're wording. Well, that may be true, but it could also be not true. If I say, oh, you didn't do your work, don't worry about it, I'll do it. Who's the problem when you come to me and say that person's not doing anything? They're not doing anything because they know they don't have to. I had actually, Doug did this. We went to Doug and Jamie's house, went to their house. And Jamie pours herself a glass of wine. And she holds the glass and goes, Doug, how many times have I told you you're supposed to wash the wine glasses? You can't just rinse them out. She pours her wine into a clean wine glass and goes over to the sink and actually physically scrubs it with a scrub brush, rinses it out, and puts it in the sink. He's like, Jamie, I told you 100 times I'm just no good at washing wine glasses. And she goes, Doug, I see your whole game plan here. Just pretend to be dumb so that I'll do it all. Supplication. It is a real manipulative strategy that I engage in frequently. Cannot shovel snow. It'll hurt my back. And there's nothing worse than a pregnant person with her back. None of the pregnant complain about, right? My husband likes to supplicate too because our sink is really, our house is like built like, I should say things like that. It's built like a smaller person. Like, seriously, think with this. You have to stand like this to wash dishes. Okay, I'm 5'7", so I'm not a short person, but I'm not 5'11".
It's like that too. We have just like an old house. And like, I feel like
but I think people in the 50s and 60s, they were short. Go and get an old, like a coat from, somewhere in the sleeves. They're like, here, yeah, a hat, that's at your head. But my husband's 5'11", and so he'll supplicate all the time and say, oh, standing at the sink to do dishes is really hard on my back. I have to bend over. You don't have to bend over as far.
my dad will put a stool in front of the sink and just sit and do the dishes.
I know I've done that a few times, but
I wish I could do that. I'm so
But-
short, but there's no way.
you always do the dishes.
Yeah.
So, I have been suckered into this a million times. I've been suckered in because I've been watching him stand there going, of course, I'm guilty too because I can sit on the couch and I can go, and he'll look and see that my water cup is empty and he'll go and get it refilled for me. Or I'll pull a blanket out from behind the couch or underneath him and go, here, and he'll give me the blanket. And I'll cover myself up with it, and he'll get up and go check the thermostat. Yeah. We have to start to think in social loafing who really is creating the problem. Because to some degree, if everyone kept telling you, don't worry about it, I got it, don't worry about it, I'll do it. You know that if you show up to the meeting and someone says, don't worry about it, I'll do it, what would you do? I would do nothing. I would. I would personally say, okay, no big deal, you get up and check this out, and I'll sit here, no problem. I'll show you all day long. Don't be a sucker, too, because that's part of the problem in a group, is taking responsibility for other people rather than giving out the responsibility to other people. And this sounds, it's terrible, but raising a toddler has really taught me this lesson. Because I will do things for him. He is 2.5. He can go to the he can get himself a cup in the lid. He knows the cup, he knows the lid. And they're interchangeable. Doesn't matter what color they are, although he always brings me the same color lid and the same color cup, which I admire his magic skills. He is now old enough to go to the fridge and get himself an apple. Unless he touches the fridge. He is old enough to turn on the light. He can do a lot of things. He can go and get his hat and his coat and his shoes. He can do all those things. And at the end of the day, he's so exhausted. Because I'm doing it all for him. And my mom-in-law was here for a wonderful 7 days. And my mom, she's good. She tries really hard to give advice without it coming off as advice, or to tell me how to do things without telling me how to do things. Brian's mom's not so much like that. She just tells me how to do things and then makes me feel bad about it, but whatever. But how many times, and it became very obvious to me when we would get ready to go somewhere, and I would get up to go get his coat and his hat and his gloves and shoes. And Kim would gently put her hand on my shoulder and just give me the sit-down motion, and she would say, Benjamin, we're going to go now, and I would like you to bring me your green coat, your blue hat, and your yellow shoes. Okay, Grandma. And he'll go and get it. She's like, Sarah, still want to manipulate you. He knows. Still want to manipulate you, he knows. So like last night, he kept saying, I want apple juice. I want apple juice. And I'm sitting on the couch, and I said, well, then go get me a cup. I'll get you apple juice. Go get me a cup. No, I want apple juice. I said, well, get off your butt and go get me a cup. And he gets up and he gets the cup and the lid and he comes back. Puts in the tubby, I want apple juice. So then go get the juice. Go get the juice. I hear the refrigerator door open, gets the juice, shut. I heard the refrigerator door shut, he's working on that, he comes back and gets the juice. I pour him a cup of juice, put the lid on it, and hands it to me. Thank you, Mommy, I said, no. Thank you. I'm gonna be your supper no more. Right? You can do this yourself. You wanna make some muffins? Give me the bowl. Give me the spoon. I will help you make some muffins. I'm not gonna do it all myself. So don't be a sucker. Alright, let's get this a little up here. Move on. So the next thing that we'll do here is this little activity, just for fun to kind of see some of the similarities and the differences that we have in terms of not only our expectations towards the group, but in our own belief systems. And while I'm getting this loaded up and you're reading this and you're thinking about this, I'm going to pass out the activities for tomorrow, which will involve flying some favorite airplanes. Yeah, so let me get this here. We're probably going to have to discuss this next. I just want you to think about it at least. So, the flying airplane activity, let's see. I'm going to have you guys be in teams of 3, and I'll put you in teams of 3 by proximity. I know you chose to use that by today, some of you did, so you get lucky this time around. Formal groups will be random selection. And what's going to happen with this tomorrow is that you're going to have to design some paper airplanes. I brought papers for you here. To compete in categories of time, distance, what I call the hot dog, or the best loops, best tricks, hitting a target, and the coolest design. Now you can design one plane that does all, or you can design one plane for each, it's kind of up to you, but each time you'll get 2 throws. Alright? So I have some practice paper, and then I have some colored paper, let's see, 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah. So actually let's do teams of 4. And I know there's people who weren't here today, but let's do teams of 4. So we'll do, like, you 4, I think, right? You guys can be this weird green color.